All right, greetings. Welcome back in. It's Bettor's Last Stand show number 69, coming to you from the Pine Room Studios, downtown Wheeling, adjacent to our friends at the Watchdog. Lots going on down here at the Pine Room Studios. We have multiple events on the docket, multiple shows, features, all kinds of stuff in the works. So be sure and follow everything at the Pine Room Studios on our YouTube channel, as well as anywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Amazon, Apple, you name it, we're on it. Check it all out. We appreciate all the support. New stuff dropping every day. Jub doing a wonderful job as always. Soup continues to pound the pavement, getting us exotic guests and things like that. Coach is beginning his new baseball show. They started it today down at the WVU complex with Coach Maisie. I don't have all the details on that, but those guys went down there for the day. So good stuff ahead for us. Bettor's Last Stand cranking up. We got Lunch Madness taking off here in about a little bit less than a month now on the radio. So check us out on the Watchdog 3 days a week, Monday 2 to 3, Tuesday and Friday 12 to 3 on all your WKKX Watchdog affiliates or the watchdognetwork.com is where you want to go for your streaming. Be sure and check it out. We got really, really good stuff on there. Really loaded card of guests that we have day in and day out on the show. It's just, it's a joy to be a part of the team, and we're hoping that we're pulling our weight and continue to provide great content for people and a lot of information too. We don't just, we're silly. We like to have fun, but we also like to give you some serious things too and some learning stuff, knowledge. I think knowledge is really important. You want to try to learn as much as you can about whatever it is that you're interested in. You can never know enough. You can never know everything. And I urge you to explore, yearn, and strive to learn more. And we're going to try to learn more here today as we talk a little sports betting. I'm flying solo today, as you can see. Chris and Coach otherwise compromised. They have other things going on at this time of the year. And then Sam will not be making it today either. He just messaged me and said he is unable to make it today. He has to work late. So, unfortunately, our real jobs come before this kind of stuff, and that's not fun. But, that's life. Although my job isn't too bad. It's kind of fun in its own right from time to time. All right, so welcome in Bettor's Last Stand, show 69. It was not a great week for us last week. Definitely not. My entire portfolio hinged on Washington on Monday night in the college football championship game. It was going to be make or break for me. I had some really big future tickets. Would have been a very lucrative night for me. It did not turn out well. And starting out of the gate right now, I'll just tell you, it was. I want to say it's a bad beat because this is not, but it was unfortunate because I could never get in a position where I felt like I wanted to try to get a spot where I could buy in on Michigan at probably a plus price. I was hoping really, really badly that Washington would score first in that game and get me a chance to get Michigan back on the plus money line in the game, which would have been very helpful. I couldn't ever find them below 185 to start, and I wasn't going to try to roll the dice on that when I really felt confident about the game. Michigan proved to be the better team. The line play is just too much to overcome, and as we talked about on the radio the other day, it's just when a team dominates the offensive, defensive lines, it just makes up for so many other things. Their quarterback doesn't have to be great. They don't have to do everything perfect, but Michigan just out-physicaled, out-everything Washington. Washington was definitely not good in the game. They looked awful. They looked scared. They looked just too big. The spotlight was too big for them. And that happens. These college athletes. Michael Penix, a little bit of stock down. Still think he's a good player, but definitely not thinking teams are going to waste a first-round pick on him. But then again, there's so many bad quarterbacks in the NFL, maybe you'll see that happen anyway. So we can only speculate there. We'll talk plenty of NFL coming up in the show. We got some Australian Open talk as that begins on Sunday, which I'm very excited about. Golf, our second week of golf action. They stay out in Hawaii this week. The Sony Open. So we got lots of good things to talk about, and of course the NFL, as I mentioned. But let's wrap up what we did last week. Down 2 units overall on the week. Sam saved us a lot. He had some good opinions in the NFL last week, so that was pretty big for us. We're up over 20 though the last 5 weeks. So last 5.5 weeks, probably about 6 if you stretch it out there. So yeah, around 20, up about 22 units, 21 units. So Again, not terrible if you're just doing it in monthly quarters. We're doing still pretty well. It was not a great week for us, but we didn't get we didn't go dead and buried. We didn't get dead. Get dead or go dead. I don't know. I don't think either one of those works. But we didn't die and get buried. Let's go with that. We were awful in our NFL futures. I graded the rest of those this year. Although I was actually above 500 somehow. I don't know how. I was 6-3. We were 12-20 overall. Coach 4-8. Chris 2-9. Just abysmal as a group. So definitely not our best. Hopefully you didn't play all those. Hopefully you had strong opinions against some of the ones that we had. But that's how it goes sometimes. Sam, as I said, he had a good one last week with C.J. Stroud. Easy over 1.5 touchdowns. Scored on, I think, his first throw of the game was a touchdown. So that was a pretty good one. He had the Lions. He had the Raiders. He was up about 2.5 units last week. So good stuff out of him. He kept us from really, really sinking because I didn't do very well. Coach, no plays last week. Chris, no plays last week. I was down about 4.5 units. My best bet was a loser. I was 6-6 in the NFL, and then Washington went hurt. I had about 5 bets on Washington in all different ways, plus the futures. So everything I gave you on Washington, hopefully you had them to at least make the championship that we talked about that months ago. Hopefully you took a shot with that, at least got a little bit back on in that regard. But yeah, best bets on the year, 16-11 for me, Coach 6-15, and Chris 11-6-1. Those guys have been out of action for a while. Yeah, wrapping up college football for the year, the national championship in the books. Michigan much the best. Now you got to figure out where Jim Harbaugh's going to go. So curious to see how that goes. We got a 12-team playoff next year, which is really going to make things interesting because I really can't say, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Michigan. I have nothing but respect for them. But I'm not certain that they would have been able to beat Georgia if they matched up with them. But that's the thing about it. Even if it's a 14 playoff or 12-team playoff, it doesn't always mean that you're going to get to match up with that team that might be better than you. So Michigan did everything they're supposed to do. They won every game they're supposed to win. And nothing but credit to them and Coach Harbaugh. I think that he is a real difference maker. I thought defensively, Washington looked like deer in the headlights on offense in that game. Now, they had chances. They didn't convert. In Michigan, they play like an NFL team. So maybe not the most skillful players, but they got guys that play in the system the right way, and they do things just so well on both sides of the ball, especially in the physicality of the game and blocking, and just all their schemes are just really smart and advanced, it seems like, for college football. So Harbaugh is a great coach. He's going to be a great coach in the NFL, which he's been before. He's going to be a great coach in Michigan if he stays in Michigan. At Michigan if he stays in Michigan. He's obviously not going to go anywhere other than Michigan. And from a college perspective, at least I'd be stunned if that would happen. But you never know, I guess, these days. Yeah, so college football in the books officially. We will talk about it, next fall. I'm sure we'll have some things here and there. We'll obviously keep you posted on the Harbaugh and some of the other things. Odds to win next year's championship right now: Georgia 4-1, Alabama 6-1, Ohio State 8-1, Texas 9-1, and I believe Michigan was around 10-1 at most places. That's probably a little bit high, only because they don't know about Harbaugh. So I would expect them to be down around 8 or 7. But with the Harbaugh news, you just don't know what's going to occur there. So I'm assuming the gentleman that filled in for him, don't remember his name, but I figure he would be the front runner if Jim were to leave. So anyway, it was a good season of college football. Our college football futures were pretty good, 17-10-1 on the season, up over 6 units. And I think overall we did pretty decently week in, week out. Our best bets weren't the best, but they weren't terrible either. And I'm anxious to see how it'll turn out next year with 12 teams, especially playing playoff games on campus sites. I think that's going to be a really, really cool effect. As I forgot to turn these top lights on right here, so bear with me momentarily here as we get a little bit, let's see here. There we go. Get a little more brightness in the room for us here. Pine Room Studios, we re-roll on here. Bettor's Last Stand show number 69. All right, let's jump over to hockey here real quick. Penguins bounce back, beat the Flyers the other night. That was on Monday as well. If you're watching that during the game like I was, actually enjoyed that a little bit more than the football game. But Penguins back in the win column. They're a little bit up and down. You just don't know what to expect. Got Vancouver next. Just the team, I don't know. They're the oldest team in pro sports, and it's starting to show. And I think the Jelkovic has got to be the goalie right now. Jari's just been terrible. Can't go with him anymore. You can't rely on him. But goals, here we go. Goal in the first 10 minutes. Ottawa 26-10, Minnesota 28-11, Tampa 29-12, and in the last 10, Detroit, Calgary, and Ottawa all 8-2. Goal in the first 10 minutes. Yes, that is really good stuff there. Ottawa on a 15-1 run on the road right now. So I think that's probably all their road games this season, because that'd be about right. They played about mid-30. So yeah, so they probably, if not, it's pretty close to. So 15-1 run right now for them. Goal in the first 10, yes, for Ottawa. So if you're seeing Ottawa, it's almost an auto play right now. Their first period over numbers are really good, and their goal in the first 10 are really, really good. No goals in the first 10, Winnipeg. And the Winnipeg Jets right now playing about as good a hockey as you could ever have. Now, I was a little early on them, actually. Had them, I want to say 2 years ago, and then a little bit last year. I got off them and went to the Kings for my Western Conference pick last year, but I think I was on the Jets 2 years ago before we started even doing the show. I jumped on the Winnipeg bandwagon, but now they've figured out some things here. I don't know what they've done, but they've really, really solidified their back line. Their style is just in sync. Every guy on the roster is really, really focused and dialed in, and it's really impressive to see. So the Winnipeg Jets right now, they're dominating. They are just dominating teams. I'm not saying they're winning every game, but they're keeping every game winnable for them. So Winnipeg right now has played 30 straight games where they've held their opponents under 3 goals or less, which is incredible. That's 30 straight games where the opponent has not scored more than 3 on them. They have the best record in the NHL right now, and they're playing really, really well. And they're fun to watch, and they're a team that you look at them and you're like, this roster's pretty good. They got some guys that can score. They got some good two-way players. So yeah, they're worth a look going forward. As we, you probably don't want to play them right now because they're probably going to be about as low as odds as they're going to get, unless you really think they're going to rip off a lot more wins and maybe get down a little bit lower. But I would probably keep it going a little bit more on them and just see what happens. Sometimes you get a guy hurt or something, they could take a little slide back. But definitely monitor them, and you definitely want to get in on these. They are the one team that I would say you don't want to be messing around with goal in the first 10 on them and goal in the first period overs, because they play a very good style of defensive hockey, and they're not giving up a whole lot of goals. So 26-14 to the no, Winnipeg is. That's best in the league. Boston 23-17 to the no. These are goals in the first 10 minutes. And in the last 10 games, the Bruins are 8-2, no goal in the first 10. Bruins have had a few waves of that where they've been on big runs around 70 and 80% a couple of times during the season. First period overs and unders. These are over or under 1.5 goals in period number 1 overs. Ottawa 25-11, as I mentioned. 15-1 run goal in the first 10, 25-11 to the over. So that's definitely a correlation there. So if you can play those, say it every week, put them together if you can. Edmonton 25-12, first period overs. Calgary 27-14, first period overs. Last 10, Ottawa 8-2 to the over. Detroit 8-2 to the over in the first period. Unders, last 10, Winnipeg. As I said, they're an under team. 9-1 to the under in the first period. That means there's been 1 goal or less in every one of their games. Even they haven't scored more than the one most of the time. So, and the one that scored is probably them. So, most of the time it's either 0-0 or 1-0 Winnipeg after 1. That's, even you want to guess exact scores, it might not be a bad way to look at it. Under last 10, as I said, Winnipeg 9-1, Montreal 7-3. NHL kind of getting down to about a month out from the All-Star game. And you'll start to figure out what teams are going to do at the trade deadline, some of the things that maybe teams need. Edmonton's rolling along really well right now. The Kings are kind of slumping a little bit. Vancouver playing pretty well. They won last night on the island, out on Long Island, and they'll come to Pittsburgh tomorrow. So there's some decent teams in the Western Conference. I got to tell you, this is the deepest the West has been in a while, because you got Colorado, obviously. Everybody believes Edmonton can win. I'm not really sure they can, but I'll tell you this, they've definitely made improvements since they made the coaching change, and they brought in Paul Coffey to run their power play and coach their defensemen, and it is really paying dividends. Probably, if not the best defenseman ever, he's got to be in the top 5. Paul Coffey's incredible talent, and as far as coaching goes too, just being able to talk to these guys and understand. A lot of the best guys aren't great coaches, but he is, and I don't think he ever really wanted to be a head coach. But he's doing wonders for that team with their defense core, and it's showing. And that's huge because Edmonton is always needed to be a little bit more accountable and better on defense. Well, they are, and their power play is going really well right now. And they're only missing the goaltending, which seems to be the only thing they ever were missing. But I'm still not very confident that they can win the Cup. I said earlier on the show, I didn't think a Canadian team would have a prayer this year. They would be the only one. If they acquire somebody at the deadline, a good netminder, they might have a shot. Maybe. I still don't think they will, but maybe. Because I'm not sure they're still built enough playoff hockey-wise. So that is a definite question mark. And, we'll look at that as time goes on. But they're the best of the Canadian teams right now. Toronto's got no prayer. Eastern Conference to me is I don't really know what to make of it. Florida's playing all right. Carolina's up and down. The Rangers seem to be the cream of the crop right now. Currently, when they get the goaltending, they're pretty good. It could be a deep run for them. Metro Division's tough. There's just too many good teams there. Tampa still hangs around. Toronto doesn't worry me at all in any regard. So we'll talk plenty more hockey as we push on, but these period numbers are starting to be something that's taken the sports betting atmosphere by storm, kind of. Everybody wants to get in on this stuff. Moving along here, basketball, just touching on this briefly before we take a break. Big 12 is proven to be the best conference right now in college basketball. The depth of this league is just outstanding. The Mountaineers are going to have trouble winning a game. And I don't think the Mountaineers are good by any means, but I don't think they're as bad as their record's going to be. It's going to be very, very ugly for them. If you watch the game against Houston, who actually got beat last night by Iowa State, this league is really, really good. Not only do you have Kansas and Houston, but you got to deal with Texas and Baylor and Texas Tech, and I mean, the list just goes on. Even BYU and Cincinnati are playing well. The newcomers. I mean, there's not a whole lot of bottom feeders there. The Mountaineers are probably going to finish last no matter what. They just don't have much. But Big 12 is the league you want to be looking at. If you can find a team out of the Big 12 at decent prices, I mean, even to win the conference, to make it to the Final Four, any of these teams that get in there are going to have a shot, I would say. It is a really strong league. Quite impressive to watch on a night-in, night-out basis. ACC, just so-so. Big 10, a little top-heavy for me. And then the SEC. SEC's got some dark horse teams, I think, that, as I talked about, Ole Miss, who just got embarrassed the other day. Arkansas, same thing. Those teams, the problem with them is that the inconsistency a little bit of not showing up every night. But they're well coached. I think these teams will improve. They come back after the holiday break. Sometimes it takes a while to get back into sync. But we shall see. SEC, I still think is a pretty good league because Kentucky is right up there with Kansas and Houston and some of these really, really good teams. UConn. Purdue, I just don't see it. They're just not very tough. They lost the other night to Nebraska, which I know teams shoot well and they can knock anybody off anytime, so not too worried about it. But a long way to go in college basketball, and there's so many big price teams that you can take a shot on that could be this year's Florida Atlantic. I mentioned a few of them before with Grand Canyon, one that was coming to mind that we talked about them a few weeks ago. But there's lots out there. We'll dial into that a little bit more here in the coming weeks once we get through these NFL playoffs and things like that. So it's good. College basketball is it's tough though. It's really a grind. It's an every night thing. It's kind of like baseball, and there's a lot of good teams that are spread across, which you didn't used to have. A lot of good teams, very few great teams out there. So keep an eye on college hoops as we get closer to March. NBA. John Moran out for the season, unfortunate injury in a training exercise this weekend with the Grizzlies. They'd been playing very well, so we can burn those tickets. Sam and I talked about that a couple of weeks ago, about that we thought maybe Memphis was worth a shot to get in the playoffs, maybe win a play-in game, so on and so forth. I think that's probably put to bed now. So best of luck to Ja. Hopefully his shoulder heals up so he can pull out his gun out of his holster. Last night, though, debacle in the NBA. Once again, LeBron James at the center of officiating controversy, where his team was awarded 23 free throws in the fourth quarter, and the team they were playing, the Toronto Raptors, got 2. Now, I'm not the guy who's going to be saying you got to keep balance, since I think it's stupid. Some teams just foul more than others. It's a plain fact. And ironically, that's what LeBron said. But in the NBA, You have guys going to the rim and drawing contact like I watched some of the Toronto guys going. It was literally the exact same plays. You had Toronto guys going to the rack, getting contact. There was nothing. A Laker guy going with lesser contact than they would call it. There's no question in my mind that those officials that were on that game, which I didn't even get their names and I should have, because they deserve to be put on notice. They're definitely fixing these games. There's without question. So if you don't think that's happening, and I'm not saying all the games are, but if you don't think that's happening, take a better look. There's just not going to happen in an NBA game. We're going to have 23-2 when the teams are playing the exact same style. Attack. Toronto, since they made the trade with the Knicks the last week or 2 weeks ago, every game that they've played in has went over. So tell me they're not being aggressive. It's not like they're standing out on the perimeter and just shooting threes. They're going to the basket constantly. Their tempo has been upped since they made these trades, since they brought in R.J. Barrett and I can't remember the other guy they got from the Knicks. But anyway, they're playing their style. It's just not conducive to only having 2 free throws in the fourth quarter of a 1-point game. So Lakers, of course, win. And this is the biggest discrepancy in free throws in an NBA game since, guess what, LeBron. So I'm tired of LeBron being coddled. I'm just sick of him in every regard. It's a travesty what he does to the league. He makes the league worse, and just enough is enough. And people have got to stop. I mean, we went through the Shaq era where him and Kobe seemed to get every call, and that was frustrating. The Sacramento Kings probably would have won an NBA title had that not happened. But LeBron is an all-time worst. This is just blatant cheating, and there's more Tim Donaghy's out there. They're in the NFL. They're in the NBA. They're in college sports. They're everywhere. So just don't ever think that people that people are above cheating, because like they say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Well, I don't really believe that, but that seems to be what some people live by. And as long as they keep scores in games, people will cheat. There's just no way around it. Whether scores, tests, whatever. If you're talking school, there's going to be people cheating out there. So anyway, that's our NBA tidbit for the day. Just outrageous. And if you want to watch an incredible rant, check out the Toronto Raptors head coach and what he had to say after the game. Is very, very detailed and well-said frustration from him. So he'll probably get fined for it. Which is not right. Anyway, we're going to take a break here. Bettor's Last Stand. Segment number 1, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little tennis. Aussie Open kicking off the Grand Slam season of tennis down in Australia. And then we got golf, the Sony Open, as well as the NFL Wild Card Playoffs. It's Bettor's Last Stand for the Pine Room Studios. We'll be right back.
Bettor's Last Stand is for entertainment purposes only, but who better to listen to than the guys here at the Pine Room? For more picks you might have missed, follow Bettor's Last Stand and all of Matt's picks on X, formerly Twitter, at BLS_PRP. Because just like General Custer, we're in Bettor's Last Stand.
All right, back inside the Pine Room Studios here, Bettor's Last Stand, show number 69. Be sure and follow us on social media at the Pine Room Studios and BLS_PRP on X, Twitter, or X, whatever you prefer. We post all the pics on there as well as our other social media platforms, but Twitter is the one to go with. I put those up even on off days when there's some of those games that fall in between the cracks before the show's released and the game is played. So try to get those up as much as we can. Sam's picks always put on there as well. So keep up with us on BLS_PRP on Twitter or X. Let's thank our friends from IC Cab here before we get rolling again. IC Cab, serving the Ohio Valley for all your transportation needs. Let's see. They are probably about as busy as any business that I've seen around here in a while. They are just, it's incredible. They can probably have like 50 more cars, but they're in high demand right now, and it's really great to see. So anyway, IC Cab, our friends at IC Cab, serving the Ohio Valley for all your transportation needs. Corporate transportation and courier services are also available. Arrange your ride today, 304-232-1313, or download the IC Cab app, which is what I swear by. And you won't have to wait in line or worry about the line being busy and so forth. IC Cab app, the way to go. IC Cab, always working. So again, thanks to Phil and all of our friends Tate and the guys over at ICCAV for everything they've done for us here in the Pine Room. All right, let's get into tennis. The first Grand Slam of the season beginning in Australia this week. So it's going to be Sunday night for us into Monday over in Melbourne. So I'm excited about this. It's been a little bit of time since we had tennis, but I'm very, very excited as Liverpool go ahead of Fulham in the Carabao Cup semifinal, leg number 1. I believe Cody Gakpo just scored. Anyway, back to tennis. So tennis beginning this week. Really excited about it. The draw is not out yet. So again, as I mentioned, coming into this block of the show, check us out on X BLS_PRP. I'll have all my finalized stuff on there because it's hard for me to pick these quarter winners when I'm not able to see them. So who they're going to be matched up with. So you got to try to foresee that, see about potential matchups, people that have good history against other players. But anyway, we'll get you a little bit of a rundown anyway, regardless, as Liverpool now leads 2-1 in the 72nd minute in that matchup. All right, so the men's draw, again, they will draw those, I believe, probably really late our time tonight and tomorrow, like afternoon over there in Australia. So we'll know the brackets tomorrow, which will be very helpful. So I'll put up my stuff probably at least, if not Thursday, then Friday on Twitter. So anyway, Novak Djokovic, plus 105 to win this tournament. You could probably find plus 110 in some spots, maybe in some plus 115s. He's the far and away favorite here. He's won this 4 straight times. Just dominates these hard courts. He's just spectacular. I know he's a little bit old now, but man, he's still good. And other than Alcaraz, who, has proven that he can beat him, but doesn't always, And when Alcaraz has won the meetings, they've been 5-setters, stretched literally every single point, hinging on who will win. When Djokovic has won, it's been a little more handily. So until Alcaraz is able to take care of him that way, Djokovic is still the play for me. I think it'd be a shock for him not to come out of his quarter and a shock for him not to make the final. But, strange things can happen. At some point, these guys all start to seem old. But, man, this guy seems robotic to me, and with not many hints of letting up. Now, he did have a little bit of a wrist injury, but I don't think that's going to bother him a whole lot there. He's so good at controlling, his body when he needs to and saving for when he needs to save. But Joker, far and away the guy to beat here. It's really I think a 3-man race, but some people will tell you Jannik Sinner will have a chance. I don't agree with that. I don't think he can hold up physically against any of these guys. Alcaraz, obviously Joker, and Medvedev. Those are the 3 guys that I think are the only 3 guys in the men's side that can win this. Unless you get somebody that's just playing out of their mind. But you can still make money in other ways. You can get guys that come out of their quarter, upset their way through, even to make their quarter final. So that's what you got to be looking for here. Some value plays. So a few guys. So I'm going with Joker as my pick to win it. That's probably not going to change, but I'll post all these. Daniel Medvedev, the Russian, he's extremely good on hard courts. I think he's the next best choice. Alcaraz at about 3-1, okay, but I'll take Medvedev at 8-1. I don't think there's much difference to those 2 guys on a hard court. Medvedev could absolutely beat him on this surface. There's no question about it. A couple of guys, longer shot guys. Sasha Zverev playing really well right now. Had a lot of injuries the last couple of years, but he's starting to really get some confidence back. And this guy was really on the way. Him and Tsitsipas were kind of like the fresh up-and-comers before Alcaraz stormed on the scene. Now, and Matteo Berrettini, who's been really, really hampered by injuries. But Zverev is playing well enough that he can make a little bit of a run here. Now, I don't know. Sometimes he loses focus. He's not quite as bad as Tsitsipas, but sometimes these guys just struggle to close out matches the way that Djokovic can get it done, even at his age now. But Zverev, if he's sharp, if he's on, I think he has a really good shot. So around 25-1 to win it all. But you can still get him at a pretty good plus price to win his quarter. Hopefully he's not matched up in Djokovic's quarter or Medvedev's quarter. I think he can get out of either the other 2, as I'm not even sure. I'm assuming that Sinner and Alcaraz will be the top seeds in the other 2, but we shall see. I also think Holger Rune, who's not quite progressed the way that I thought. I think he's still not quite there yet, but he's really, really talented. So keep an eye on him. He's about 26-1. He's going to end up winning a major at some point. I don't think there's any doubt. And then a couple of guys that are just really, really good hardcore players. So you need to be aware. If they're playing against a guy who may be ranked much higher than them in the world, and you see him at a plus price, you may want to roll the dice on him as you come through these individual matches. Hubert Hurkacz, or Hurkacz, however you want to say it, he's 55-1 to win this. Don't think he can win it, but he's got a great serve, and he can absolutely make a deep run here. Grigor Dimitrov, he's really good. He's had some exceptional performances on hard court as well. 90-1 to win it, but I think he can make a good run there. Ben Shelton, got to know him in the U.S. Open last year, the American. 40-1, I wouldn't play him to win it. I don't think he has any chance, but he could get hot and win some matches. And then Yuri Lehecka, who's a really good hard court player, 97-1. I think he can win some matches as well with a really strong serve. I was hoping that I could give Dominic Thiem a thumbs up here, that he was trending in the right direction, but it seems like he's kind of had another setback with his injuries. He's going to play in this. He's 135-1. It's just a shame because this guy would be battling Alcaraz right now as the next best player other than Joker. He won the one slam in the U.S. Open a couple of years ago. And he's had an injury to his wrist that he's just never been able to get much traction on. So it's really a shame to see. Hopefully he can get hot, so keep an eye on him, but 135-1. I wish I could throw a few dollars on him to see if he could win it, but I just don't think he's in the form that he could be able to do it, which is really kind of sad. So those are my picks on the men's side. Again, I will check tomorrow's bracket and be sure to put those up on Thursday or Friday. I guess you'll have seen them by the time you watch this on Friday. They'll definitely be up. So, all right, flip it over to the women's. Last year we had Aryna Sabalenka to win this, so that was a good winner for us. She's about 5-1 right now to win it, and I disagree that she's not favored here. I think it's kind of, to me, it's a little disrespectful. She's by far and away the best hard court player, along with Elena Rybakina. And Iga Swiatek, who's probably your top all-around player, your number one ranked player. I just don't trust her on hard surfaces. She can be beat by a lot of people. You've seen it in the U.S. Open. You've seen it in Australia. She's just not the same player as she is on grass and clay. So to me, it's not a knock on her. It's just that there's other girls that are better on this surface. So I'll be fading Swiatek immensely. I'll be going against her in several matches. I'm not saying just blindly bet against her, but I will be going against her, no question about it. Coco Gauff, about 8.5-1, 9-1. Elena Rybakina, 7.5-1. And then you got Naomi Osaka returning at about 15-1. Not sure her game is ready to win yet. But she's talented, and if she's got her mind right, she could be a thorn in someone's side here. Coco Gauff, I'm not sure if she can follow it up after winning the emotional U.S. Open back in the fall. She's got the game to do it. She's got the experience now to do it. And she took down Sabalenka, so no reason she can't make a run here. But it seems tough for these young people to be able to repeat performances like they have. When you have everything line up perfectly for you in your home country and you're able to win, it's not always as easy to do that in a different time zone and against different opponents in the heat of the summer in Australia. So it's not really the best setup for her, but I do think she's dangerous, and I think she may be someone I look at in the quarter, depending on the quarter. So check back at BLS_PRP for that. Sabalenka is my pick to win it. Rybakina is the second choice. I know I hate to go with the favorites, I really do, but Sabalenka is just so good on these kinds of surfaces. Rybakina, though, is equally as good and could definitely beat her. She'll be someone that I'll eye up to win her quarter almost certainly. Her game is just so steady. I was so impressed with her. She's been so steady the last 3 years, just beyond imagination that a girl that's not really that old can be that consistent is really tough. Elena Svitolina, I think she is worth a look, 38-1. She could be someone that I could maybe look at if she gets in a quarter with Swiatek. Maybe she's one they want to take a roll of the dice. Jessie Pegula, the American Buffalo Bills girl, 14.5-1. I don't know if she can win it, but I think she may be able to make some noise, at least get to the final 8, maybe to the quarters. We'll see. Or at least win her quarter. And then Ludmila Samsonova, she's 36-1, young girl, starting to come into her own. She's somebody I like. I'm not sure she's ready to win yet, So I probably won't take a shot with her to win it, but I think she could be a dangerous player in the quarter to at least make the round of 16 or the final 8. I think is worth a look, and I'll be checking for some plus prices on her. And then kind of like in the Dominic Thiem's version of the women, you have a couple of interesting situations here. You have Maria Sakkari, the young Greek. I've talked about her before on here. She's so talented, just so talented. It's shameful that she's not been able to win. I feel sorry for her. She puts so much pressure on herself. She seems to be mentally just a wreck. I keep waiting for her to just take a year off because she always just says she's quitting. She doesn't enjoy the game. She gets so just demoralized. It's weird that in the majors she really struggles mentally. In the off tournaments she can seem to get to the finals, win them. But these big tournaments, she just always has a situation where she's leading, total control of the match, and then the switch just flips and the pressure gets to her and she falls apart. And it's sad. She's 35-1 to win this. She absolutely could win. She's that good. She's as good as anybody here. She might be the most all-around physically talented girl in the entire circuit with her quickness and her serve and everything that she can do. But just the mental game, it always lets her down. So anyway, I'll probably sprinkle a little bit on her. Maybe if she gets a favorable draw, I'll try to see if maybe we can get lucky and get her to the quarters. But every year I say it, every tournament I say it, it's just, I just can't full-heartedly back her. I want her to do well, but I just can't full-heartedly back her at this point. She's just too inconsistent and struggles with the pressure. Ali Tomljanovic, who is Australian, she's 240-1. Now, I'm not saying she could win this, but she's had some success on hard courts and could get some favorable draws, and maybe she wins a few matches. So I think we'll keep an eye on her that maybe she could get to the final 16 or so. It would be at a really good price because if you're 241 to win it, you're going to still be a pretty hefty price to get down into the quarterfinals or so. So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, so we'll keep an eye on her. She is the top Australian girl, I believe, obviously with Ash Barty retiring a few years ago. They have a young girl named Arina Radonova who's actually Australian. Or she was, I know obviously Russian descent, but I don't know if she was born in Australia or she got the citizenship. But anyway, she played her way to the finals of the qualifier round, and then she got beat. So I thought maybe she could be interesting as a crowd favorite, but did not make it through. So anyway, that's a little rundown of the Aussie Open. Got a couple weeks of good, really actually not even good, great tennis coming up. I'm very excited about it. This really lifts my spirits during just a time of the year where I just don't enjoy the content as much on TV. Basketball, college is okay. Pro basketball, I can't stand it. And then the NFL will be littered with penalties and flags and controversy and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, you want to watch a refreshing sport, pop on the Australian Open and enjoy it. All the picks will be available at the Pine Room Studios, BLS_PRP. All right. Couple of other reminders going on right now. Let's see. Actually, let's do bad beats. Bengals Browns under 38.5 last week. It was 31-0 Cincinnati. 8 minutes to go in the game. Browns scored twice in the last 8 minutes. They hadn't even moved the ball all day. Scored 2 times. Stick it right in your ear. So, yep, that was a tough one there. There was a lot of large bets on Michigan during Monday, and that kind of worried me a little bit. It seemed like people kind of knew Michigan had a game plan that was going to foil Washington. And again, we said Washington had chances, but didn't work out. 4 players in the Circus Survivor contest split $9.267 million. They get 2.3 apiece. Their final weeks, 2 guys had their final week picks were the Bengals for 2 guys, the Raiders for the other 2 guys. So pretty easy winners there. Congrats to those guys. It's an amazing job. Get down to where 4 guys made it every single week of the NFL season. And in the circuit contest, Thanksgiving and Christmas are their own weeks. So you had 20 weeks of picks. That's just incredible. San Jose Sharks have lost 12 in a row. They're struggling right now again. They're really bad. We already knew that, but they're really slumping badly right now. Lost 7-1 in Toronto last night. Canucks and Rangers, top teams in the NHL and ROI, so keep an eye on them. I mentioned them both earlier as teams to be checking out. All right, let's go over to golf now. The Sony Open. We had a pretty strong week in golf last week. we didn't have the winner. I really thought that Sung J M was going to win that tournament. I was hopeful, but our only guy that we gave out last week that didn't really do much for it was Ludwig Aberg. So he was the only one. So if you check our golf picks out last week, if you played those picks, we had 3 guys in the top 5 and 2 in the top 15. So a strong start in golf last week at the Century Tournament of Champions. This week we stay in Hawaii. We go over to Honolulu. This is Waialae Country Club for the Sony Open. And I got a few guys that I really like here. So my top play is actually going to be Corey Connors. He's 25-1. Plays well here, putts well on this kind of grass. I think he could be dangerous. I also like a couple of Englishmen, Terrell Hatton at around 18-1 and Justin Rose at around 35, 37. You'll be able to find some 40s on him. Rosie played pretty well in the last round of the tournament last week. Had a bad, I think it was the second round, but he didn't play very well. But his game's still pretty good. He's staying healthy. He had a strong season last year, and he won early in the season last year. So I think those are my top 3 picks. So that's Corey Connors, Terrell Hatton, and Justin Rose. And then a couple other guys that I like that I think I would mix in on some tickets. I'll probably bet all these guys to win at least a small amount, but you should, tier your picks. So if you have a guy you like to win, you should put a little bit on him for a top 5, a little on a top 10. Spread it around. You can go 75% of a unit on the top 5 or a top 20 and then 50% on a top 10 and whatever, however you want to do it to try to make the most what makes the most sense to you. But you can break it down to try to make it into an entire unit yourself. So normally when I give these out, if I give a guy a top 20 and a top and to win, I'll usually go like half a unit on each or whatever. So you break it down to where it's a unit played across the board. So however you want to do it, please feel free. If you have any questions, again, contact at thepineroompodcast.com or, direct email us, or that's what I just said. Message us. Direct messages on Twitter, BLS_PRP, or at the Pine Room Studios. Feel free. We'll be happy to answer those questions. Call us on the show on the Watchdog. We would love to hear from you. 304-214-1600, the number there. Anyway, back to the golf action. Like Matt Kuchar this week, he's 50-1 to win it. I think he could be a decent player for a top 15, top 10, maybe top 20. Ryan Moore, his game's starting to come back. He's had a couple years of bad injuries. 135-1. Not sure he can win this, but I'll be taking a shot with him. I think you can get pretty good numbers on him, top 20, maybe even a top 10. Russell Henley has played well over here in the past. He's about 21-1. Don't love that number for him to win, but I think he could be a guy that I would think would be a top 10. Eric Cole had him last week, playing pretty well, 28-1. Tyler Duncan's 165, 170-1. He'd be a top 20 lean for me. I think his game's good enough, but not quite good enough. Sahith Theegala, he's a guy's getting a lot of attention. Played well last week. A lot of people picking him this week. I decided not to go with that, but you can still get him plus 170 in a top 20. That would interest me. But Theegala's playing really well right now. His numbers across the board are as good as anybody's in the field. But 31-1, I don't love the number on him, but I do think he'll play well. Ludwig Aberg was not very good last week, which is rare for him. He's usually very consistent. 16-1 this week, a little low after a bad performance, but I still think he's a guy that could be in the mix here. I would look at him maybe for a top 5. Vincent Whaley, 130-1, another relative newcomer to the PGA Tour. He's playing pretty well right now. His game is where it needs to be, and I think this course will suit him well. Ben Coles, 89-1 for him. Another guy, relative newcomer. Don't hear a lot about him, but I think he'll have a pretty good season. And Adam Svensson, who's played really well here. I believe he's top 5 here last year. He's definitely worth a peek at 45-1. Again, I'll post all these on our social media for the Sony Open. All right, that brings us to the grand finale, what everybody wants to talk about, NFL football. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Here we go. So here's a couple of notes for the NFL as we enter into the Super Wildcard Weekend. The biggest dogs to make the playoffs from the beginning of the season. Houston 6-1 to make the playoffs way back. And that was one I was pretty proud to give out there. I gave you way back on this show, I think before we even did the official picks, I gave you out ones like well in advance. 3, if I remember correctly. The Ravens over their win total, which cashed. Number 1 seed in the AFC. Houston over their win total, which cashed easily. Winners of the AFC South, now in the playoffs, obviously. And then the one that I didn't get right was the Packers. I did have the Packers under. They played a little better than I expected. So if you got those booked way, way, way back, I think you did pretty well. Hopefully, I owed people after the NFL futures that we gave as a group. It was not pretty, but those were my very first 3 bets that I made way, way, way back in I think probably even in the spring last year. Very early summer, we gave you those ones. So hopefully you made those ones work. Again, Houston 6-1, Tampa was 3-1. The Rams and the Packers both plus 165, and the Steelers plus 150. Those were to make the playoffs numbers from the beginning of the season. Since the 6 wildcard format began in 2021, the Super Wildcards, dogs are 10-8, 55%, with 5 outright winners, while the overs are 11-7, 60%. So nothing too lopsided in those. One year it looked like a lot of overs. Next year it looked like a lot of unders. Dogs and favorites kind of split. But got to beware. It looks like every year there was one outright dog that did win. So see who that'll be this year. Could be one of many. Quarterbacks in their first playoff starts, 27-50 since 2002. That's straight up 36-1 against the spread. So again, you want to back these guys, but there were 27 guys that won, so it's hard for you to completely rule it out. If you really, really like one of these teams with the quarterback, in the matchup you think is favorable for them, don't go off your gut. Definitely don't. Those are just numbers to help you try to make a decision. Quarterbacks with playoff experience versus first-time playoff starters, 66.3%. The quarterback with the experience comes out on top in those. So basically a little bit more than 6 out of 10 matchups. So that's a good angle to lean on if you like somebody from that regard. Bill Belichick, the hot commodity right now, talking about him, whether he'll lead the Patriots, whether or not he's going to stay. I think there's 9 vacancies now, as Pete Carroll was the most recent firing. He got fired right before we came on here. He actually just got moved to a front office advisory position, so that's a good way to phase the guy out of there. So he's out. Vrabel got canned the other day. So a couple surprises there. It's hard to see where some of these guys will end up and then what Harbaugh's role in all this will be. But anyway, the Chargers are the favorites to get Bill Belichick 2-1. Stay in New England 3-1. Atlanta 5-1. Washington 6-1. So interesting stuff there. I hear some pretty smart guys in the know that say that they think Washington is where he'll end up, but I don't know. I think Bill would probably rather have some warm weather since he's been in New England, but maybe he just likes that because he's used to it. All right, so most bet teams in the wild card round so far, 70% of bettors on Cleveland. That's a concern to me. 67% on the Rams. That's a concern to me. Philadelphia, 61%. I'm happy about that one because I like Tampa. Kansas City, 52%, so that's about half. 58% on the Steelers and 55% on Dallas. So some of these games pretty even. Pittsburgh obviously getting 10. Most people, sharp bettors, are even going to take that. So you're gonna get 10 in a playoff game with bad weather. Yeah, everybody's going to be on that. Houston is the first team to make the playoffs with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback since 2012. I'm sorry, and that was in Indianapolis with. I don't know if it was Andrew Luck, and I don't know if his coach was Chuck Pagano or whoever it was, but yeah, since Indy. So let's see here. Brock Purdy, Mark Sanchez, Joe Flacco all won 2 games in the playoffs their rookie season. So that kind of goes against that number we saw up above of the 27-50. Those guys were one of the 27s or 3 of the 27s. No rookie's ever taken his team to a Super Bowl victory. Rookie QBs in the first start 10-19. So yeah, it's tricky to navigate how this will work for these guys, but it is possible, that's for sure. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to the action. It is the first game of the weekend, Super Wild Card weekend. It'll be on Saturday, and it's the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. Houston seems to always play in this spot just for years. Even Bill O'Brien was a coach. It seemed like they always played the early Saturday game. Cleveland minus 2.5, 3-ish on the road, depending on where you got the number right now. Total 44.5. I like this game under. I know a lot of people were thinking this is going to be an over game, that the Texans are going to surrender the pass, the Amari Cooper yards and catches like he did the last time. I think Houston will be a little bit more game plan for this. DeMeco Ryans is a defensive guy. I think they'll do everything they can do to slow Cooper down. So that means that the Browns will have to throw underneath a little bit more. I think Njoku could have a good game. I think the Browns will run the ball a little bit more. I think Stefanski's going to try to use some play action. He's got Flacco to manage this. But I think you'll see a little bit more of an effort to run the ball for the Browns this week. And I think that will lend to the under in the game. I lean Cleveland in the game. I think they're a tad bit better, a little bit more experienced. But I don't like that the public's on them. And Houston is good enough to win this game, and that's for sure. Without question. But the Browns are a team that I think if they can get momentum going in these playoffs, I think they can win a Super Bowl. And that's not – I don't think I'm overstating that. I think they're a legitimate contender with the defense they have. I think their defense will play well, even though they haven't played well on the road. This is a playoff game. Everything's different. So lean Browns, but like the under in that one. The nightcap on Saturday. This is on Peacock only, so get your streaming devices ready. You got to go on a streaming device. Sadly so. Even at the casino, we got streaming devices we got to use for it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, in the local markets of Miami and Kansas City, it will be on their local NBC, so that's at least nice. However, the Chiefs, -4 in the game, total 44. It's going to be absolutely freezing. It's going to be -5, -10, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be absolutely frigid. The Dolphins are a mess defensively right now. They've had to bring linebackers in off the street. Bruce Irvin and who else did I see? Melvin Ingram, and then there was another one too. Justin Houston, I think. But guys who used to be pretty good playoff performers, all kind of old now, brought them all in this week. They are decimated defensively at linebacker. It's going to be minus temperatures. That's a problem for a team from South Florida. They got injuries. Waddle's hurt. Mostert's hurt. A lot of guys hurt on defense, as I said. Tua in the cold. Tua against a good defense with a good up-the-middle pass rush. I don't like this at all for the Dolphins. Dolphins came and gave a great effort on the road last year at Buffalo. They really did. Tyreek Hill back at his old place. I mean, he could go off, no question about it. But this is going to be kind of Tua, close your eyes and throw it and just hope he gets it, because that's really the only way they can stay in this game. We'll see if they can run the ball at all on the Chiefs. Chiefs defense is pretty solid. I think the people will be ready for this game. I like Kansas City here. It's probably my favorite bet of the weekend, and I like this game under 44. And I like this game under in the first half, too, 21.5. The Chiefs' offense has not really been very good either. They get Mecole Hardman back, which is really big. I think that'll be a good security blanket for Mahomes along with Kelsey. So maybe they will snap out of it, but I think this game, to me, is probably going to be something like 17-3 at halftime. So that would get you, safely under the 21.5. But I'm going Chiefs. I'm going under, and I'm going under in the first half in that game. Sunday's action, Pittsburgh at Buffalo, another game where the weather could impact. It's going to be incredibly cold with the wind chill. Could be 50-mile-an-hour winds. Snowing on Friday night, they say. Snowing on Saturday night, they say. Will it still snow on Sunday? We don't know yet. This really lends itself to the Steelers being able to hang in this game. Total open 38.5 down to 36. Bills laying 10 in the game. I can't lay 10. I can't lay 10 in a pro game, in a playoff game, when you got, I know it's a backup quarterback, but you have a franchise that doesn't seem to get blown out a whole lot. Now, the Bills are the much better team to me, but Bills are inconsistent to me. Josh Allen is awesome. I think he's really good, but he makes a lot of mistakes, but you got to live with that because he makes a lot of great plays too. I like the Bills in the game. I think they'll win the game, but it would not surprise me if somehow this game is closer than it should be. And the Steelers, they have a way of eking out wins and doing crazy stuff, so it wouldn't really shock me if they won. But I'm leaning Buffalo. I'm on the under already. I bet at 38.5 on Monday morning. If you want on the under, you better get on it now. It's 17.5 in the first half. I'd lean to the under of that too, because if it's 50-mile-an-hour winds, they're not going to be able to do a whole lot other than run the ball. But I would say this: if you're going to play some props in the game, I think with 50-mile-an-hour winds, I think it's almost a guarantee Josh Allen will score, run one in himself. And then the tight end position, which if they're able to throw, Buffalo's got two pretty decent tight ends, Kincaid and Knox. Steelers have really struggled against tight ends, so maybe that's a matchup to look for in your same-game parlays, but maybe tease this game up to about 42 or 3, and then match it up with an Allen touchdown and maybe one of the tight ends for the Bills to score or go over their yards or their receptions. But if you got to check the weather, because if it's 50 miles an hour, it's going to be really hard to complete a pass because you're just not going to know when those gusts are going to go. So if you get it, it's going to be stuff that's going to get out quick. So you may see some tight end screens and stuff. So it could still be okay. So monitor accordingly, and I'll put on all these finalized plays of mine, anything that needs to be adjusted because of weather on our Twitter or X page, BLS_PRP at the Pine Room Studios. Middle game on Sunday, Green Bay and Dallas. This is on Fox 4:30. Dallas minus 7.5, total 50.5. Mike McCarthy hosts his former team, who has kind of been a little bit of a surprise, but they're just inconsistent, the Packers. I don't think Matt LaFleur is a very good coach. Jordan Love's played up and down this year. He's looked very good at times. He's looked very accurate. And then other games, the game against the Giants, he was absolutely dreadful. He looked like Michael Penix in the championship game. Total 50.5 on this game. I like the under in this game. I think Green Bay will run the ball a lot here. I think they'll be able to run it a little bit. I think Aaron Jones will be a huge factor in this game. I think he would be a guy I would include in a lot of my fantasy plays or props. I think he'll touch the ball a zillion times, and he should. Jaden Reed as well. They'll try to get him involved as much as they possibly can. It would not surprise me if Green Bay had a better coach. I think they have a really good chance of winning this game. I just don't trust Matt LaFleur, and I don't trust Jordan Love. But you can't trust Mike McCarthy, because I think Jair Alexander, if he shadows CeeDee Lamb, I'm not saying he can shut him down because Lamb's arguably the best receiver in the league right now, but he could slow him down a little bit. And Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, big stage at home, they should win this game. It's a home game. I mean, come on. But we've seen this time and time again. And I think if they lose this game, I think McCarthy's gone, like the next day. He may not even make it home. Jerry Jones even hinted to that the other day. So, to me, this is a must-win for Dallas. It's either that or they're just blowing up the whole team. You got Dan Quinn with a 1 foot out the door. Apparently, he's the front runner for the Seattle job. He's the D coordinator. Stuff like that worries me if I'm a Dallas fan. Now, I have no faith that Dallas will go any further than maybe this game because I just don't see it happening. But they will host somebody next week. But if they got to host the Rams or someone, they'll get beat. But it won't surprise me. The Packers, I would lean the Packers in the 7.5. But again, I really don't like Matt LaFleur. I think he's just not a very good coach. So that would worry me. So I lean Green Bay, but I definitely like the under 50.5. I think Green Bay will play this game very, very tight. They do not want this game to get an up and down affair. That's the last thing they'll want. So even LaFleur would know that. So under on that one. The final game of the night on Sunday, Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions. Matt Stafford returns home. Lions minus 3.5. Total 51.5. A lot of pressure on the Lions here. They not only did they get their all-time great quarterback coming back, he's won a Super Bowl since then. They have not done anything in Detroit until this year since he's left, pretty much all time. It's tough because I want to be hopeful that the Lions can win this game because I know Lion fans and want them. You know, it's exciting when the Lions are good. They've been a team that people have been fans of for so long and have just struggled with all the misery, kind of like the Browns. But the Lions, this is a really tough spot, man. Stafford is going to come in there. The Rams are playing really, really well. They got just like a surgical offense right now. Defense can be had, though. So my play in this game is the over. I think this will be one of the higher scoring games of the week, if not the highest scoring game of the week. I think there's points to be had here from both teams. Both teams' defenses are vulnerable. I think Detroit's got a big advantage in special teams if they can capitalize on it. The Rams have been awful in special teams. A lot of blunders in that area for them this year. But they played well. They've shown they can go on the road to Baltimore. They almost beat Baltimore there, so they can win games. So I want to my brain says the Rams are the play, but the public is very, very heavy on the Rams. So that makes me be a little guarded. If I get less than 3, I may take the Lions, but the only play that I know I'm making in this game is the game over the total 51 and a half. I'd play it over either one of those. If it goes down, I need to play it even more. It's indoors. 2 offenses that are pretty good. Now, Sam Laporta probably not playing is a huge loss for them. But I still think St. Brown's good enough that he can, kind of lead them from receiving side of things. And you had Raymond step up last week, and a couple of other guys, and the 2 backs that Detroit has both can catch the ball, and both have done a really nice job. So Rams aren't as great a defense as they were when they won the Super Bowl a few years ago. So they're vulnerable, and that's why I think this is an over play for me. And then the finale, Monday Night Football, 8:15 ESPN, Philadelphia Eagles, Tampa Bay Bucks. Philly now up to 3 on the road, total 44. I got to tell you, I'm not somebody that overreacts too much to these games in the NFL, but if something doesn't look right with Philadelphia, and it hasn't for a few weeks, it looks like an issue, an internal problem. Confidence level, questioning play callings and strategies. Just doesn't seem like this team is in sync. It seems like this team is stunned that they just fell apart after being 11-1 or whatever they were. So I just can't lay points on the road here. I think I see why Philly has to be favored in the game. I get it. It's Baker Mayfield against a team that's roster is so much better than Tampa's. It's not even close. But Tampa is playing hard right now. They're winning games ugly, which is a good sign for teams going into the playoffs. Now, they didn't play much last week, but they're winning some games in ugly ways, although that game at Green Bay was just an incredibly nice win for them. So, I think this team, I got to say, I think that the Bucs are a little bit dangerous here. I think catching 3 at home, very, very good spot for them. I like the over in this game. I think the Buccaneers are going to score points. I don't know who's going to cover Mike Evans here and Godwin. I don't know. I mean, who can cover him? Philadelphia has given up points for fun to the Giants, the worst receiving corps in the NFL, and with Tyrod Taylor at the helm. So if Mayfield's even halfway healthy and he can get some protection, I think Tampa's live in this game. I think Philadelphia right now is looking in the mirror saying, what in the hell is gone wrong with us? And I don't know if they're going to be able to fix it this fast. There's a lot of pressure on them. It's a tough city to be struggling in. Now, one break they do get is that they're playing on the road. If this game was at home, as much as you would say, Tampa, cold weather, whatever, it wouldn't be good. But Philadelphia is definitely feeling the pressure. They're probably very happy to be on the road this week. And maybe get a little momentum for themselves going forward. I wouldn't count Philly out, but I something just seems way off to me, and I'm not sure they can fix it in time. So I'm going to lean Tampa in the game, probably play Tampa if it's 3 or 3.5, and I'm definitely going on the over in that game. So that's the rundown of the NFL Wild Card Weekend, Super Wild Card Weekend that is, and should be an exciting week. As I said, we got tennis starting up, we got golf, we got obviously you got NBA, NHL, college hoops in full swing. So lots of action. Be sure and check us out on the Watchdog on Friday. Flip it on right now if you're listening. Probably be doing Nailing It Down, or one of the cool segments that we have on there. Getting ready for the Nailers to come back to town after taking 1 out of 3 down in Orlando, taking on the Solar Bears, which is a really good team. And then they'll be home for 2 this week against Indy and Kalamazoo for 1, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So get on out to the Nailers. Check them out. We appreciate their partnership. Done a wonderful job. We've had a really, really good time. And tune in for Nailing It Down on Friday. Well, on the Watchdog, we talk for the Nailers an entire segment about what's going on with the team, roster moves, everything that's going on with the opponents coming up on the weekend, and who's trending in the right direction. And also talk about the promotions and all the other cool stuff. You got a Frosty Friday. You got the Super Nailers World on Saturday, which is a spin-off of the Nintendo era Mario Brothers stuff. It's going to be a really cool event. So stop on down West Banco, check that out. It should be a really fun time. And listen to us on the Watchdog this week and next week, as we got plenty of great stuff happening. Check us out, Pine Room Studios, everywhere you can find your podcasts, and on YouTube as well. Like us, give us some thumbs up, give us some feedback. Tell us what you think of Bettor's Last Stand, Soup and Stuff, the regular podcast, and all the things that we do separately, radio show, all that kind of stuff. So again, thanks to our sponsors, IC Cab, Jill's Gentlemen's Club, Gumby's, for everything they've done for us for our Football Fridays on the radio. It was awesome and really fun times with all them. We got plenty more coming your way from the Pine Room. Lots of excitement. Lunch Madness, as I said, right around the corner. It's going to be really fun. We have a new show called The Briefing Room, which Jubb and I are incredibly excited about. That'll probably start sometime after football season. We're in the infancy stage of it. It's going to be conspiracy theories and very detailed breakdowns of provocative, cases and things that we think and our own opinions, I should say, of how or who we think was either the culprits in these things or what exactly happened here. We have a lot of great cases that we're going to explore and give you some different insight if you're into that kind of stuff, into history, into just conspiracy theories, period, whether it's extraterrestrial stuff, whether it's stuff that's happened within our own government, and things that have happened all over the world, whether supernatural or whatever. We're gonna cover it all. So It's going to be a fun one, and we're looking forward to it. So anyway, that'll do it here for us, Bettor's Last Stand, show number 69. I guess not us, just me, but we'll be back next week to talk about the wild card playoffs, the second round, the divisional playoffs, and we still have a few more weeks of football. So if you're interested in getting on Super Bowl boards, Warwood Vets definitely has some available. So stop on down to the Vets Club and get on if you so choose. Again, tune in on the Watchdog. Thanks to IC Cab. We will see you next week on Bettor's Last Stand. Enjoy the weekend. Good luck on all your bets. Check us out on Twitter, BLS_PRP at the Pine Room Studios for all your updated information, the latest plays, and news in the Pine Room. We will see you next week on Bettor's Last Stand. Have a great weekend.